You are just about to learn one simple principle that I use to teach my horse to reliably react on lower and lower amounts of pressure. You will not just avoid your horse from becoming dull and unresponsive over time, but you are going to be surprised by how much easier, more reliable and more pleasant riding on your horse will become once he starts reacting on the really low pressure. In this video, I'll be focusing on improving the reaction on the pressure of your shin. The main exercise I use for lowering the amount of pressure my horse actually reacts on is the transition from standstill to trot. And with more experienced horses, also the trot to canter, walk to canter and standstill to canter transition. However, if you are not able to get the canter lead you ask for reliably when you transition to canter, it's better to just focus on improving that rather than working on getting your horse to react on lower pressure. Practicing transition from standstill to trot is a great exercise for improving the way your horse reacts on the pressure of your shins. Transition from standstill to trot is already a bit difficult and your horse has to put some effort into going from standstill straight to trot without doing any steps in walk in between. However, even though it's demanding, it's definitely not going to be too difficult for your horse to learn and to perform. So, what do I want from my horse during this exercise? I want my horse to go straight to trot, without doing preferably any steps in walk in between. And I want to use the slightest amount of pressure possible. I start by stopping for at least a few seconds and letting my horse calm down. When I decide to ask for trot, I ask my horse by pressing him with my shins, using the lowest pressure possible. Your horse can feel when you put an empty matchbox on top of him, so he can feel even very low pressure from your shins. If my horse starts walking instead of going to trot, I ask again within 2 seconds, but this time using a lot more pressure. By using a lot of pressure the second time, I no longer want my horse to just go to trot nicely. I want an exaggerated reaction and I want my horse to realize that he should have done something differently before. So in this case, I don't mind if my horse gets to a faster trot than I wanted or even goes to canter. Actually, I expect my horse to do it and I will not punish him for it. This teaches him to react on the low pressure that I use in the beginning, the first time I ask. If your horse doesn't react even on the high pressure the second time you ask, you should use a whip to get the desired reaction from your horse. As soon as my horse goes to trot, I let him to trot for around 15 to 20 meters and then I gradually slow down to a complete stop. And then I repeat everything. Common mistake while practicing this is that you don't use enough pressure the second time you ask for trot. Usually people just use a bit more pressure to get their horse to just calmly transition to trot. However, this way your horse will most likely not realize that he should have done something differently before. This just teaches him to react badly on low pressure and most likely will get him to react just by using more pressure. And the problem with this is that most horses will over time require more and more pressure to get them going. And you can even end up with a horse that is very difficult to get to canter and it is also very difficult to keep in canter. Let's take a look at what to look for and what to avoid. If your horse doesn't react on low pressure, you have to ask him again, but using enough pressure to not just get him to do what you wanted, but to get an exaggerated reaction. In this case, it doesn't matter if your horse ends up going faster than you wanted. I can tell what my horse thinks and how he feels by the way he behaves. If he just reacts by calmly transitioning to trot when you ask the second time using significantly more pressure, he didn't realize that something was wrong before. If you see that your horse overreacted and even went to a faster pace than you wanted, then you know that he realized that something was wrong and most likely he also realized that he should have been paying more attention to what's happening. Your horse will quickly understand that you will not use high pressure unless he reacts badly on low pressure. So, while practicing the standstill to trot transition, I want my horse to go straight to trot, without first going in walk and then speeding up to trot. I want him to react willingly on low pressure, but not be exaggerated. I want him to remain calm and relaxed the first time I ask. I use this principle every time I want to improve the way my horse reacts on low pressure. It can be with the trot, walk or standstill to canter transition, or even when just practicing speed control. In the beginning, when you start with this, you will have to use a lot of pressure when correcting your horse to really get that exaggerated reaction that makes him realize that something was wrong. However, after some time, as you and your horse get more experienced with it, you will need less and less pressure to correct your horse. Like this, you will get a horse that reacts very willingly and continues to improve, and you will avoid making your horse dull and worse over time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it with your friends on Facebook and leave me a comment. In just a few days, I'm going to be sending another video, so stay tuned and keep an eye on your inbox. See you next time.